So, hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, or good morning, or maybe even good evening, in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepakar Khemani, and along with my co founder Abhijit Sansgiri, and hopefully Payal, who will join us later, gives me immense pleasure welcoming you all to the 303rd, 303. You heard it right, the non-stop 303rd Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Come rain or shine, online or offline, every Sunday for the past 303 weeks, we have been meeting people, asking questions, interviewing them, learning from their experience. In their journey, in this 303 weeks journey, we've covered all the seven continents of the globe. Yes, speakers, trainers, coaches, athletes, politicians, doctors, healthcare people, any particular industry, any particular sector where a person is doing something different, where he or she is making a difference, where we can learn from their experience. All these people have been guests on the Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Continuing that tradition, today we have with us Sachin Thakur. He also calls himself Coach Sachin Thakur. And the topic of today's discussion is power of storytelling in the modern world. Let me ask Abhijit to join in and take the session ahead.
Thank you, Deepak, and welcome, Sachin.
Thank you, sir.
So let's go directly on to the topic itself. Storytelling in the modern world. So how different is this modern world? So somewhere maybe Deepak and me were Y2K born. Maybe you could be of this century. How is the world different?
Well, I believe, sir, that first of all, thank you so much for having me on this talk show. I'm genuinely grateful, and I'm looking forward to have a meaningful conversation. Thank you very much. So I believe, sir, that the modern world has changed a lot in the last 20 years. But the thing is that, people say that today we are more connected because we have Instagram, LinkedIn, all these social media. We are more connected than ever, but still I feel like we are more disconnected than ever, So I feel like technology has played a huge role in many ways, but still it has, reduced the meaningful conversations. And talking about what I am passionate in storytelling, and I believe that in the modern world, as AI is taking over, everything is coming along, I believe that the meaningful conversations are competitive advantage of anybody who masters the art of storytelling and conversation. So in the modern world, this is probably the most important skill that, we should master.
So I take that the modern world is we are more connected digitally.
Yeah.
Maybe not connected, maybe emotionally or meaningfully. Now,
yes,
and we need to have meaningful conversation. Now, what is meaningful?
Wow. For me, the meaningful conversation, number one, starts from very basic, but super important is listening. I believe Abhijit sir and everybody who's watching us right now is that today's world is deprived of good listeners. And we pretend to be good listeners, but we are not. We are amazing at pretending to be good listeners, but we are not. I feel number one is listening. Number two, being very empathetic with the other person that we are, having conversation with, not having the judgmental mindset. Number three, super important, something which I call that being interested rather than being, interesting. Interesting. So kya hota na, people are all about, oh, look at me, here I am, look at me, how these are my credibility, accolades and stuff. They want to sound very interesting. But if you want to be genuinely connecting with the people, you have got to be genuinely interested with the person. And, my rule of charisma, which I have learned, is people say, what? Real charisma is all about, oh, look at me, here I am. But I believe the meaningful conversations happen when you say, oh, look at you, here you are. So it means giving the other person the importance in the conversation. I feel that's where the meaningful conversations can happen.
Oh, so I take this one. The letter E, where it starts with empathy for the other person.
Yeah.
It starts with F, where you also focus on the other person. He should be the focus, not you. Maybe
Yes.
you have what do you call it? Be interested in what he's speaking, and
Yes.
I think it got to be a win-win for him than for you. So,
Yeah.
so is you listen so as not to give your viewpoint,
Hmm.
but with a view that you finally it's all about giving respect to what that other person is saying. Fine. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, this is not happening. And why doesn't it happen? And how could maybe storytelling make it happen?
Sure. The reason it doesn't happen, sir, because I believe people are too involved in the outer world, like what's going on outer side, right, than they're inside, right? For example, people are too much concerned about what's happening in the world than they are concerned about having and sitting and having the conversation with the world, right? And I believe the reason it is not happening nowadays is because people take people and conversations for granted. They think, oh, एक conversation से क्या ही हो जाएगा, something like that. So we have to start being serious and being very respectful about the conversation. Number one. Number two, about storytelling, as you mentioned. I believe, so, that storytelling is probably the only bridge that helps us get truly connected with people, right? Because I can state all the facts about myself, about you, about everything. But if I'm not able to tell this story, I will not be able to connect. So one of the main, advantages, I believe, of storytelling is genuinely connecting with people. And apart from connecting, it helps in so many other ways. Like, the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, has said that storytellers will rule the world. You know, so I believe storytelling plays a huge role. And also, I was watching a video of Nikhil Kamath, right, one of the great co-founders in terms of today's startup ecosystem, and he said that if you truly want to win in today's world, focus on mastering the storytelling. So it's not me who I'm saying, because this is not my thing. This is what all the leaders and great founders and business people have already said it. So I feel that it helps in building businesses as well as building the true connection with the people. So, I feel that storytelling is, especially in these days, the most important skill.
In this world where storytelling is now talked about to the point that either it's being overused or overhyped, because when you tell a story, it's all also about maybe spinning a yarn, or it's also about telling a story when really needed or when really not needed. So how do you maintain the fine balance? Again, how long should that story be, or how short should that be? What should be the message? So various aspects come in storytelling. So what's your view on that?
Well, first of all, I believe, sir, that storytelling is no more a trend nowadays, right? It's about how human beings make meaning out of stories, right? And to answer your question, I believe that nowadays people talk about common sense, but common sense is not common anymore. So I believe that we have to tell stories in the situation where we want to connect with people. We have to tell stories in the situation where we have to inspire people, right? We have to tell stories in a way when we want to lead people, because as we know that facts tell and stories sell, and people think that this is just one, any random skill. It's not. It's a skill that not only helps you sell more and get more businesses, but also building the relationship. And I believe in today's world, as people are more, distracted, more disconnected than ever before, connection is the competitive advantage. Meaningful conversation is competitive advantage. So I believe that if we follow this along, and if you understand that how important it is, it helps us to build more connection. And also, as I talked about being very common, we have to understand that if you are in a, let's say, in a team meeting, it is important to tell a story. If you're having a conversation, it is important to tell stories. For example, if I'm meeting you in a networking event, after we have some small talks, You ask me some questions. If I share my story, like I have come from the remotest villages in Bihar, I couldn't speak in English. I failed multiple job interviews. Now I'm training business owners and leaders the art of effective communication, right? So there is a story. So I believe that we are aware of these situations, like having conversations in team meetings, in boardrooms, in even content creation, sir. And I believe these days content creation is a big, big thing. And I was taking a session with founders a few days ago, and I was telling them that in 2026 and beyond, if you're not creating contents, there will be only two things. Number one, either you will be forced to create contents, or number two, you will be out of your goddamn business. That is the importance of content creation. And content creation means storytelling plays a huge role. Because if you want to build the trust and credibility, you have to tell stories. I make videos every single day. I don't have millions of followers, but every single time I share my story, share some content, people relate with it. And that's where I feel that, storytelling plays a huge role. So content creation, boardroom, team meetings, conversations, you want to connect with somebody on a human to human basis. I think that's where storytelling comes in. And people say storytelling, it's all about B2B or B2C. Bolte na business to business or business to customer. I don't believe it's B2B or B2C, it's H to H, human to human.
Why I take this to a larger extent? Let's talk about the modern world when we're talking of the modern world where people just don't have the time or pretend to don't have the time. So first तेरी जो कहानी है 1 मिनट में खत्म कर. You just have 2 minutes. Simple, like technically, you go to corporate meetings. When you talk to board meetings, it's just you have an allotted time and you have a lot to tell. Now, where do you set the story with the background and the context, and how short, how deep, or how meaningful could that story be with the paucity of time first allotted to you, and maybe with the human on the other side who just doesn't have the listening skill.
Right. I believe if we want to speak to the point, the frameworks play a huge role. So in storytelling, sir, there is framework which I teach called SFAVL. SFAVL. S stands for struggle. If you are in a presentation or sharing your story, share the struggle of yours or your clients that they have faced, right? Number two, F, feeling. Sir, in storytelling, if you share how you felt about the failure, about what happened, people connect with you. S, F ho gaya, A, action. Share what action did you take to overcome that struggle, or what action did your clients take to overcome that struggle. SFA ho gaya, V, victory. As a result, what happened, right? What results did you achieve as a result of your action? And last but not the least, share a key takeaway message. Every single story has to have a message, a key takeaway message. One of the worst mistakes that people make in speaking, that they start very well, but they don't end well. And that's what they have to share, a key takeaway message, right? If I give you simplest example, SFAVL, in my example, I struggled a lot in my own English communication. I was not able to express my ideas. F, feeling. I felt frustrated. I felt hopeless. And I thought, you know what? I'm not cut for this. I should just go back and give up and go back to Bihar. That's it. A, action. What action did I take? I stayed back in Delhi. I started working on my communication. I started seeking mentorship, watching podcasts, reading, right? Action. V, victory. As a result, kya hua? I started seeing some incredible change in the way I communicate. People started respecting me. I started becoming more visible in speaking. And in 2019, I won a scholarship to go to America for 1 year. That's my victory. L, lesson. The lesson here is no matter where you come from, your background doesn't matter. If you have big dreams, work hard on it. If you stay persistent, you can achieve your dream. So I just gave you a framework called SFAVL. So if you want to tell better stories, you can incorporate this framework in many of the conversations and presentations.
Thanks. I just noted it down as SFAVL. So just to validate, what we normally do is when we go to corporate meetings, we first either we toggle between the problem or the empathy part.
Yeah.
So we empathize so as to bring the connect with their problem, then acknowledge and accept the problem, and
Yeah.
based on that, there is the recommendation for the action and what would they get post that, and maybe again a further action to continue with that or and close the loop. So yes, more or less that validates point. But yes, I agree there got to be a framework uh, while that would make it easy. Now,
Yeah.
what you said, storytelling is a skill. How does one acquire the skill? So in a lot of cases, there would be people who would come from various backgrounds. So I would come from a pure risk management background. Maybe Satish would come from a different background. Each one would come from a different background where they're mainly they are on technical skills first, and this is more of a soft skill. So how do you really merge the two to be more effective? And beyond a point of time where do you stop growing in your technical skills and focus more on these soft skills?
The first thing first, if somebody wants to become an incredible storyteller, the first step is something which I call the story bank, building a story bank. People tell me all the time, sir, that, oh, Sachin, I don't have enough stories. And I tell them, it's not that you don't have enough stories, it's that you haven't documented enough of your stories. Right? And what if I told you that I have been documenting my stories since 2017 when I left my home from Bihar, shifted to Delhi? I have been documenting my stories since 2017, right? So first step is start documenting your stories. And people say, no, I don't have stories. I simply tell them, do you have enough dramas in your life? This, of course, I do. Write them down. Write down the experiences. Write down the exposure. Write down the times when somebody put you down. Write down the time when somebody encouraged you or told you, hey, you are good enough. Just go and get it. So write down these incidents. That's step number one, right? Number two, super important, super important. Find the opportunities to share your stories in conversations or small groups or, team meetings, right? Because if you have all the stories in your bank, but if you don't bring it out, it's not worth it. Similarly, if you have a lot of money in the bank, but if you don't take it out to enjoy your life, it's not worth it. So you have all these stories in the world. So start sharing with the people. The sharing is very, very important. So number one, story bank, right? Write down anything. And here's the golden rule of storytelling. Write down anything and everything that emotionally moves you or moved you in the past. It could be happy or sad, frustrating, disgusting, disappointing, whatever it is. And I'm going to start sharing as much as possible. So yeah, these are the two things that I would do to become a better storyteller nowadays.
Do you really dramatize that, or do you tell it as originally but as bland as it could be?
Thank you for asking the question. People believe, sir, that when they use all the tonality and voice modulation, it is being fake and phony. I have a different perspective. It is not about being fake and phony. It's about being not familiar with your own tone and with your own potential of your voice. I believe if you're sharing something very emotional, slow down more, like make it a little deeper, right? Take more pauses. And see, we have like piano has 88 keys, if I'm not wrong. If I keep playing the one key all the time, it'll keep giving me the boring and monotonous sound. That's what we do as human beings. We don't play the other, keys. So I believe that it's about being dynamic with your voice and using the voice and tone accordingly, whatever story you're sharing, whether happy story, emotional story, or whatever story you're sharing. So I feel like it's being more dynamic with your voice, which I do all the time, and that helps.
Is it has to be your story, or is it anyone else's story?
Combination of both stories. You can share your own story as well, right? And you can share something what I call the reference story. For example, you are giving a presentation and the topic is the dream, right? So you can go with the quote that APJ Abdul Kalam has said that dreams are not those that you see when you sleep. Dreams are those that do not let you sleep. And then you share his story. So reference story you can share, and you can share your own story as well. So both works.
Is it a local story or a global story?
Again, sir.
Why get Steve Jobs or why get Will Smith?
Yeah.
When you have our Abdul Kalam or we have maybe Sachin Thakur, why get Steve Jobs in?
I would say it can be the combination of both. How would we keep the balance, right? And also, when you share the story of a known person, known human being, people feel more connected as opposed to somebody people don't know much. Again, APJ Abdul Kalam sir, everybody knows in India, right? Even you share the local story, APJ Abdul Kalam sir is the best example, no matter what. If you're sharing a story of startups, we can share or founder or maybe business. Maybe Steve Jobs is the best example. So situation wise, we can share different stories, whether it's global or local.
So while I agree, it's depending on the audience. If it's a global audience, you get in a global story or a reference of a global personality or a celebrity where it's locally is. But how do you really judge the audience's mood when you have a audience whom you don't know and you are not given any brief about who will be there? And the second question is, given the fact that you are a Gen Z, how do you relate and tell stories with someone who is twice your age?
I hear this all the time. I hear this all the time, sir. So to answer, let's go with the second question first. That's because more relatable to me. So I'm 27 and I'm on the edge of millennials. So I always joke around that, you know what? I am the oldest Gen Z you will ever meet, So, sir, I have been very fortunate to be able to work with the people who are almost twice my age or maybe 40, 50, even my oldest client is from Oman, 65 years old, right? And when I meet these people, when I work with them, they always say, Sachin, one of the reasons I want to work with you is because your enthusiasm and energy and passion that you carry, right? So that's where I, connect with them. And number two, I was coaching a wonderful person. His name is Ken from Chennai. He's my one-to-one client. And he's a technical guy, right? And he thought, what can I do with my storytelling skills? But when I coached him and when I met him in Chennai, we were having this wonderful meeting in Starbucks. And I gave him this one-to-one hour coaching session. And then after the session, he was almost in tears. And he's almost 52 years, almost double my age, right? And he said, Sachin, after I learned these hacks and importance of storytelling and the way you made me practice, now I believe that my kids don't need any other inspirations. Because I have so many incredible stories of my own that I have come from absolutely nowhere and built my businesses. So when I tell my story to my kids, they will be able to connect with me. Right? So for me, it is a good thing that I'm able to work with these people who are older than me, because not only I'm learning from them, but also they are learning from me. It's both way. And also 90% people whom I work with are older than me. They've told me the one thing, energy. The reason they want to work with me is because energy and passion that I carry. So they feel very relatable to what I do,
And the first question.
Would you mind please repeating that? I may have missed it. Thank you.
So you answered the second one.
Yeah.
The first one was where I was asking more about what stories would connect. Would it be a soft story? Would it be a humorous story? Would it be a Manmohan Desai story? Or what is it that, and how do you gauge the audience
Sure.
when you really don't know which audience is there? What to tell? What would connect? Because maybe something will connect with me, won't connect with maybe Deepak. So how do you really have the right connection with the audience when it's quite diverse?
The first of all, every time I go and speak in events and these sessions, first of all, I know my audience already. So I'll prepare. Now, when it comes to not knowing the audience at all, the safest and the best way, the best type of stories are your personal stories, right? Your personal stories. Now, when you're on this stage and you don't know the audience and maybe audience doesn't know you, you go there and start with your own story. For example, The topic is the importance of public speaking, or the topic is the importance of building the online presence or personal branding in 2026 and beyond. So when you go on the stage, you don't know anybody, nobody knows you. Start with your own story. For example, let's say if the topic is the importance of building personal brand. When I go on the stage, I will not go and give somebody else's example, but mine. I'd say in 2020, I started creating video contents and I had no idea where I would go. But now it's been 6 years since I've been creating contents. I have been super consistent and it has given me incredible amount of results. Right? Then I will ask a question. Do you agree with me that 2026 and beyond, it's all about personal branding? And then I get my audience with me. And then I go with the story and the things that I'm going to share with them. So I would say, to answer your question, personal stories are always the safest if you don't know the audience. And then as you get to know them, have more conversation, then you can take it to the next level or next conversations and stories.
Storytelling, story shaping, story showing, story curating. You have all the adjectives or adverbs or whatever coming with before or after the story. So what is it? It should be.
You meant story showing? You meant?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Somebody calls it story showing, somebody calls it story shaping. So when storyteller has become too repetitive, somebody says, I'm a story shower, I'm a story curator, I'm a story shaper, I'm a story alchemist. You name the words that will come and be added to the story. What should it be? Should that be restricted to storytellers, or is it you play around with words to be different? Like the story has to be different and unique all the time.
I believe so, that everybody has their own stuff to call themselves. I've met people every single day. In my case, this is how I would go with. I would call myself as a storytelling coach, simple. And I feel like story showing is something which I'm a fan of. But I wouldn't call myself story shower. I don't know what that means, frankly speaking. I would rather call myself storyteller or storytelling coach, right? When it comes to story showing, and of course, you know what it means that when you're sharing a story, you're taking your audience on a mental journey. So whether you call yourself a storyteller or story shower or story alchemist, the maksad, the agenda is the same, is that you are taking the audience on a mental journey. You're showing them your story, not telling them, but you're showing them a story. So frankly speaking, I don't know who is wrong, who is right, but I would call myself storyteller. And then, of course, teach the concept of story showing as well. So that's how I would go.
So, time for Deepak to take over. But one last question is,
Sure.
when you tell stories, it's also about your personal story. But at points of time, you, as you said, you also need to dramatize it with your voice, with your
Yeah.
actions, with your tonality. So make it emotional, make it humorous, make a connection, build that relation. So do all things which you can have, as you said, your formula of the struggle, of the emotions, of the victory, then your story bank, which you document and then share it as soon as possible. Now, how much time would it take to develop this skill?
I would
And
say,
let's say if I was to start doing that, and there are people already in this line much ahead of me, how do I compete with them? Or do I don't resort to storytelling, but something else? Which maybe when I'm not a storyteller and I know I can't compete with a real storyteller, then I just go into sharing my experiential wisdom or on a conversation or something else. So how do I deal with or compete with a Sachin Thakur when it comes to the stage? When
I
he's
believe,
great stories, taking people on a mental journey, and I can't.
right. So I believe, sir, something which I mentioned earlier is the first step is documenting your stories, because everybody has incredible amount of stories, right? So something which I call the winning story and failure story. People connect more with failure story than they connect with your winning story, right? So I always say that start documenting your stories. And again, you don't have to think you're going ahead or behind somebody. If you're starting today, okay, if I were to start my storytelling journey today, here's I would do. Number one, what I would do. Number one, I would reflect back on the top 20 to 25 best or the worst moments of my life. Happy or sad, good or bad, success or failure, somebody putting me down, somebody encouraging me. I would write down those 20 to 25 incidents, the reflection, right? And I will follow the three steps. Number one, write down the incident. Number two, how it made me feel. I keep repeating so that stories have to make your audience feel something, whatever you want to make them feel. And number three, a lesson. What lesson it taught me? For example, I met Subbu sir, right? And he taught me about being warm, being, open in conversation, right? So when I share this, I'm giving a reference of Subbu sir. I can share the lesson with my audience as well, right? So how I felt incredible. I felt that, you know what? I'm still yet to learn a lot of stuff. And then I shared a lesson. That's number one. Number two, if I were to start, I would make videos. No matter what age, what stage you are at right now of your life, start creating videos, regardless of the views and opinions of people. Because when you create more videos, number one, you become very confident sharing your story in front of camera. And number two, it helps you gain more confidence in front of people, in front of public. And last but not the least, Abhijit sir, something what I call keep embarrassing yourself. Keep embarrassing yourself and sharing your story. People ask you what's the best way to become a great communicator. I say, go out there, go to networking events, all these people, and embarrass yourself. I have done it intentionally. There was a time when I was not a good speaker, but I had the courage, the audacity to be there and embarrass myself by sharing some stories. And people laughed at me. But now people appreciate it. First, they will laugh and they will appreciate. This is what I would do. Documenting, making videos, and embarrassing myself and sharing my stories, not of people. And I'm sure if you do these things, you definitely get better in storytelling.
Great. Thanks, Sachin. A lot of insights. I think we've had about 300 plus speakers coming in, 303 to be precise. But someone who has spoken so fundamentally and given the basics of this subject, because I've heard many people who speak on story, showing, telling, curating, shaping, whatever you name it. But when they speak, they also speak as if they are also telling a story. I think you told something like a very basic stuff, maybe something where even a beginner could relate to, and I think that was the key of you. I really love that formula of yours and the fact that you create a story bank. I think two good tips on your best and worst moments of life and maybe the lessons you learned. I think each one of us has hundreds of stories. We just need to think what we have actually learned from our experiences and exposures, as we call it, and just keep on sharing them. Whether people give us a chance to speak and whether they listen, I think you should keep on sharing and telling it.
100%.
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Half an hour we have spent learning and trying to understand what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say, what effect will it have on the audience, and so on. And consequently, we have a question from one of our audience senior members, MK Sansgiri. He asks, how does storytelling, how can it help boost your professional practice? So, storytelling as a speaker, somebody who wants to go up on stage is different. As a person, if a person is a professional, he has got no, things about going up on, standing up on stage and sharing stories and, inspiration or motivation. How does storytelling work in professional practice?
I love that question. I love that question. Thank you for asking the question. Number one is, I believe the one thing about storytelling is it can be implemented in almost every walk of life, right? Use the word sir professional, but professional se pehle we are person, we are people, right? So the reason you must master the art of storytelling as a professional, because number one, when you go for a job interview, people barely care about your technical skills. They look at you as a human first. They look at you, your ability to express your ideas and connect with people. So that's number one. If you want to crack job interviews, you have to be telling stories about your own failure, about how you dealt with previous clients, previous customers, previous bosses. Number two, getting the job is the first thing, but getting the promotion, getting into leadership position is a whole different game altogether. And if you want to go to the leadership position, you have to be telling stories. Why? Let's say you have a team of 15 people, Deepak sir, right? 15 people are there. If you are discussing, you're talking about, let's say the topic is the company's values, right? You can simply say, you know what? Here are five values: care, being on time, all these things that we don't follow at all, right? But if we share the values in forms of story, for example, when I joined the company, I was not very much punctual. I used to come office on late, and my manager told me, "Hey Sachin, if you keep coming late like this, you will not make it big." And I listened to him, and guess what? I started being punctual, and not only that, I started following all the values. And guys, that is the reason I am here as a leader. So if you want to be the leader, if you want to go at the highest level of your career, you have to be telling stories like this, as opposed to just the facts. I just shared a story. So in your professional career, storytelling plays the major role to connect, to lead, and to influence. And I believe nowadays, Deepak sir and Abhijit sir, that if people want to build the influence, the only way is storytelling. When you tell these kind of stories in professional setup, you grow like anything. So tell stories like this, and you will see a huge difference in the way people see you, and that you get opportunities.
So I agree with you, Sachin, because it's not that every time as a professional I would go on stage, and as a chartered accountant I would be dealing with hundreds of my juniors.
Absolutely.
And I need to persuade them, inspire them, motivate them to take a particular course of action, and giving examples by sharing experiences or the exposures that we've had, and maybe put it through a storytelling style. I think that's something is good enough. Yes, it works, really works. Yeah, Yandeep, go on in. I think Brenda.
Go ahead, Brenda, ask your question. Yeah.
Question. It's more to answer Sanskrit. Is it MK
Yes,
saying that
yes.
whether you use it in professionalism, in professionals, is it worth it? Does it boost your career?
Yeah.
Absolutely 110% Sachin is right. In fact, courses which directors are taking today, very much storytelling. Couple of reasons why: because leaders don't action, they narrate, and vulnerability is a huge bridge of communication down the line. And leaders are being taught that today, especially in an AI world, data informs, but stories are, in fact, sort of, they inspire. So if you're a leader, you can't just inform, even if you're going to have, you're going to lay off people. I'll give you this example, the great example of Airbnb and Mr. Chesky, Brian Chesky, how he did his layoff. He made it a narrative. He spoke so many times, had town hall calls, and on the last day when he had to let go those 1,800 people, it was no longer a narrative saying that you're going. They had been built up, and the kind of steps he took. He cried. Actually, every time I listened to his talk, I cried. He said, "Today, 1,800 of our family members are leaving." So that's the kind of story which is, which leaders need to own, and it has become a case study today. Also, leaders can tell their origin story. If you read any book, CEO, factory, whether Sanjeev Mehta's book, they will begin with their origin story. And of course, the failure, the turning point, the person who shaped them. These are all things that come in the story. Or a great client or a team with whom they work. as he said very correctly, stories connect, lead, and influence. So I think it's important not just for your career. Of course, for a job, it is absolute. I don't send anybody for an interview. Currently, I am coaching 500 people who have been laid off through an outplacement agency. And so it's about 400 hours of coaching. And the first thing I do is ask them to choose. You cannot help 100 stories, 4 or 5 stories properly constructed, which can answer all your questions, your biggest fault, your failure, your best, your strength, why should we employ you? The In other words, everyone is a story. And for best thing is tell me about yourself is never a story about yourself. That's the first thing to know. Never about it's always about them. So I think the art of
Yeah.
storytelling in job search is absolutely number one. Because if in a
Yeah.
job search, you don't have the main reason you get selected is they know you, they like you, and you're memorable. And the interview is never decided in real time, Mr. Sansgiri. So three weeks later, they will not remember all the things you have told. Only stories are sticky. And for leaders, it's absolutely the distinguishing, factor.
So while Brenda, I agree with you, there is one more thing also which is very relevant is you got to also have basic competency in a job or as a leader or as a professional. So that is non-negotiable. I think this is a skill you build on top of that.
Yeah.
You need great data. Convert that data into a great story. You need great data. It's why you have made a business loss and you can make a good story for the excuse. It still won't be forgiven in corporate. So yes, it's absolutely. But
Because data can be shown as data and data can be shown as stories.
Hmm.
So if you give it as data, nobody's interested in your interview or even in your AGM. But if you give the same
Yeah.
data translated into a story, that makes
Yeah.
a difference.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So well done. Great question and superb answers, and then reflections from actual professionals who are there in the audience.
Right.
Great. And since we touched upon AI, and Brenda said AI is here, how can there not be a question related to AI? So, in the age of AI, how has storytelling changed, especially with what is coming? There was talks about the metaverse and smart glasses, and then you put on something on your eyes, and then you go into a different world where things are playing and stories are being told. Just tell us, how is it going to affect us, or the basic human connection, storytelling from mother to son or father to grandfather to grandson and all that,
Yeah.
that can never be taken away by AI, right? What's are your
100%.
views?
Whenever I start a talk on AI and storytelling, I shouldn't say, but I always say, screw AI. AI is going to be there. That's for sure, right? For sure.
Yes.
But I believe,
Yeah.
sir, in the world of AI,
Yeah.
the art of conversation, the art of storytelling is your
Yeah.
biggest advantage.
Hmm.
Let me tell you why. Because AI can definitely generate content. Go and ChatGPT, say, hey, I'm Deepak, I'm a storytelling coach. Give me a 10-page of content. It will give you the incredible amount of content. But it cannot generate the lived experience.
Yeah.
AI can write your story. You
Yes.
tell him or tell it, or not him or her, tell it that, you know what, this is what I do, I have done, give me a story. Wonderful. But AI cannot live your story.
Yes.
People are talking about AI agents and everything. And I'm telling you, sir, as a communication and storytelling coach, I'm not against AI, but I feel it's a great boon for this generation. But people are taking it too, too much of it, right? I believe
Yeah.
people should focus on living and having more meaningful conversation. Because see, I believe that, sir, the future won't belong to people who know information, right?
Yes.
Because I believe that AI knows more than all of us, right?
Yeah.
I believe future will belong to those who bring the judgment, perspective, experience, creativity, and conversations.
Yeah.
You know, so I believe that, and again, one thing as well, that people are too much dependent on AI. If they are going to have a presentation, they prepare the presentation on the AI. Nothing wrong with that. But the
Yes.
problem is that
Yeah.
they tell AI to think on their behalf. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How can you do that?
Yeah.
How can you ask AI how I'm going to just connect with the people? How can you ask AI? Again, when you have a presentation, you cannot send a robot on the stage. When you're going on a date, you cannot send your AI agent on the date. You have to go
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to learn the art of conversation there. And I'm telling you, sir, authenticity with the conversation and storytelling is the biggest advantage in the world nowadays.
Yeah.
And the ones who master the art of being authentic, it becomes an absolutely competitive advantage. Use AI, but don't let AI use you. I
Yeah.
believe that, I'm sorry I'm saying this bad word here, but I think AI is making us dumber.
Yes.
Whatever we want to do, AI,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It is reducing our ability to think.
Yes.
It is reducing our ability to be creative,
Yes.
right? And I'm telling you, sir, no matter what happens, I will not leave what I'm doing right now, because of the message that I share, people get inspired, and I know that people need this. And people nowadays, sir, are so much deprived of meaningful conversation. As I was mentioning in the very
Yes.
beginning, that
Yes.
because of AI, because of technology, we are more connected than ever before. But also, we are more disconnected than ever
Disconnected.
before.
Yes. Yes.
So I will keep pushing conversations, authenticity, and storytelling, because I believe that this is the only bridge that will help and to connect with the people. And as I said, business is never about B2B or B2C. It is always about edge to edge, human
Human to human.
to human.
So instead of calling our show today modern storytelling, we should have said authentic storytelling.
Yes, I would have loved that. That's amazing.
Okay, so let's do something different. We'll do a small rapid fire round.
Sure,
I'll
sir.
ask you a few questions, and you can choose to answer them in true or false.
Sure.
A few sentences have already been answered during the discussions Q&A we have had, but let's do a small true or false rapid fire.
Sure.
Storytelling is more powerful than data. True or false?
Absolutely true. So I used two words, but
True.
true.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Every person is a storyteller. True or false?
True.
True. A good story must have a hero and a villain.
False.
False. Okay. Would you like to expand on that?
Sure. People think that stories are all about, rags to riches. No, you can create stories out of thin air. It doesn't have to be rags to riches or hero and villain. It doesn't have to be like that. So yeah.
Technology has made stories shelf life shorter.
Unfortunately, true.
True.
Yeah.
Our attention spans have also gone shorter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay. Stories can change behavior.
True. True.
Let's modify this question. Can stories change behavior instantly or does it take time?
Wow. I would say if story is powerful enough, it may not change instantly, but it will put some seeds into it. My life has been transformed by listening to some wonderful stories. One of the stories that I heard when I was a kid was APJ Abdul Kalam sir's story. And that did not change my life instantly, but still it's ingrained in my mind. It took some time, but it changed my life forever.
Yes, yes, it stays with you.
Yeah, it does.
Humor is essential in storytelling. True or false?
This is controversial. False. False. False.
False.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's again reshape this question. emotion is necessary in storytelling.
True.
True. Wonderful. All stories need conflict.
False.
False.
Yeah,
It
false.
can be a plain, simple, motivational story without any conflict.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Storytelling is teachable. True or false?
True. True.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And that is precisely what you are teaching. Coach Sachin Thakur is here helping people become better storytellers, authentic storytellers, and how to do and use storytelling in the modern AI age.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift the tracks slightly. When you are telling a storytelling, what is more important? Is it facts or is it emotions?
Emotions. Emotions.
Emotions. Wonderful.
But
So,
Deepak, just
again, we discussed upon. Go ahead.
So if you're saying facts are not important, the facts but still have to be correct, right? Otherwise the credibility is lost.
True. True. True.
Yes.
I agree with you, sir.
So emotions for connect and facts for hard data, so that
Yes.
it can be proved what you are saying. It's just not something which is made up. Yeah.
I believe that data and stories are complementary to each other. Data cannot be
Yes.
avoided completely. As
Yeah.
they say, data's inform, stories
Yeah.
transform.
Stories transform.
You know?
Indeed, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So short form or long form?
Short form nowadays, I would say short form. But if
Nowadays, it's all short form.
if you want to have
Yeah.
genuine impact, I would always go for the long form content, long form stories.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Stage or the screen?
Always stage. Always stage.
Always stage. Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Ancient myths or modern memes? What works?
Oh God. I'd say modern memes maybe these days. I don't know.
Modern
Yeah.
memes nowadays, because they instantly create that connect, that emotion, that laughter, or it basically it's in front of you and then you are responding to it directly. When somebody is giving you, old stories, once upon a time, jab hum chote the ya jab hum ye karte the, then you are thinking, he's telling his life story, isko chodo. आज के दिन में जो स्क्रीन पे दिख रहा है पहले उसको
And
देखते
if
हैं.
if I can take 30 more seconds on this, sir.
Sure.
It is about meme story, and it is also about when you're sharing a story. Don't just say once upon a time I used to be very, 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 very bad. It's all boring BS.
Yeah.
Start with something interesting. One of my favorite ways, I go like this. When I was in prison, visiting.
Good one.
Start with some hooks, some interesting things when you share a story.
Yes. Yeah, when I was in prison, visiting. Yeah. Wonderful.
That right pause is very important. Yes.
Yeah. Global stories or local stories?
Come again. Sorry, can you repeat again, please?
Global stories or local stories?
It depends, but I'd go with global stories because global and local bhi aa jata hai somehow, right? I would go with global story.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was that if you are addressing an international audience, probably global. If you are addressing a local audience, then Indian ones. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we've got one or two more. So, what do you think is the most powerful story ever told since, humankind came into existence?
Bhagavad Gita.
Wow, Abhijit sir.
Why not? Of course. Yeah.
Abhijit sir.
Undisputable, right?
Abhijit sir, thank you.
Yes.
Somebody globally will say something else.
I don't think I have a better answer than this. I don't think so. I think Bhagavad Gita,
Wonderful. Yeah. The biggest storytelling mistake, especially amateurs make.
Wow. The biggest mistake that amateur makes in storytelling is it might be controversial. They tell borrowed stories.
Yeah.
They tell borrowed stories that have been said millions of, nothing wrong with that, but they don't share their own stories. I believe the connection starts and you start building pure connection when you share your own story and you let the other person share their story. So stop sharing borrowed stories.
When we were growing up, and I'm talking of some 35, 40 years ago, there used to be this ad of Bajaj bulbs. on
Yeah.
TV. उस जमाने में कोई cable वेबल, nothing else was there. No smart TVs, no internet, no satellite TV. And there used to be this ad of Bajaj bulbs where this guy was telling his life story. जब मैं छोटा लड़का था, बड़ी शरारत करता था, मेरी चोरी पकड़ी जाती, जब रोशन होता बजाज. And then that was like, his childhood. And then he gives a story about his Javani. And then he gives a story about his Budhapa. And everything was linked with that Bajaj bulb. That bulb used to come on and give light, again.
True.
So it was humor, it was an ad, it was storytelling, all packaged into one within 30 seconds. So I still remember it today because we used to hear it that time. I remember the full jingle. So
See,
wonderful
because
local stories.
You remember, sir, because it was a story. So
Yes, it was a story and it touched your emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Stories are remembered like for a long, long time.
Prasad, you will get from I thought.
Okay, let's go to the next question. What do we have again? If you were to tell your students, your followers, that, this is the storytelling Bible, or this is the book you must read if you want to become a good storyteller, what would your recommendation be?
One of my favorite books that I have with me right now, if you allow me to show.
Yeah.
Again, जो अभिजीत सर कह रहे थे story showing, exactly नाम भी वही है, story showing.
Yes, story showing, Sam Cawthon.
Right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite books, and I owe my skill, my ability to tell better stories to this book. And guess what? One person recommended me this book only because he loved my story. He said, Sachin, I love the way you share stories and I would love you to be a better storyteller. So please read this book. And I have read this book 5 to 6 times already and I don't get bored of it. So this is the best storytelling book ever.
So Sachin, just curious, who told you to get
So
this
sir,
book?
I met this wonderful person. His name is Dr. Vinod from Hyderabad.
Okay.
So I was having a chat with him. So he told me, Sachin, if you want to be much better and you get into this field of storytelling, must do it. So the name is Story Showing only, Brenda ma'am. Story Showing by Sam Cawthon. I will write maybe in the chat.
So just to add, me, Deepak, Brenda, we've
are all students of Sam Cawthon.
We've done his 3 days boot camp. We've done his Prodigy. I've done his Prodigy. I don't know whether the other two have done it. I've done his Prodigy. Me and Deepak have been volunteers at his programs, and whatever Sam had told in the 3 days, I had captured. So there was something where Sam had even asked me for my notes.
Wow.
And I still have those notes.
Yes.
That means I am on the right track.
Something which is captured as he spoke.
We are all products of the Sam Cawthon Speakers Institute factory.
It made me
Payal and Deepak were all.
Wow.
Payal, yes.
We were all students from him. Yeah.
It made me feel so good.
2018.
Yeah.
Because I look up to, learning from Abhijit sir, Deepak sir, Subbu sir. And when I heard that these people whom I'm admiring and learning from have read the same book, it made me realize that I'm on the right track.
Brenda, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
So there was something which Deepak Satish is saying from a psychology perspective.
Let me read Satish's.
Which
let
I
me
agree
read what
with him
Satish.
because I would never go to watch a sad movie. I would always go to enjoy a movie which has some suspense or a good ending because I go there to ward off my stress, not to get stressed.
Entertainment. Yeah. So Satish says, from a psychologist's desk, being a psychologist, never share a personal sad story or a trauma or a tragic story on stage with others unless you have completely healed from that situation, which means you've gone through that, you healed, you learned the lessons, and you would like others to, learn from your experience. So just a point which he wanted to Satish. Satish, you want to say something on this?
Yeah, thank you, Sachin. It was a wonderful session. This is one thing which all the storytellers miss, and indirectly they give us more business. Okay. Nowadays, most of psychologists' desk is filled with professional speakers and storytellers because unfortunately they kindle their own wounds. Okay. So what should be a hero moment actually becomes a victim moment after some point in time. So it's like if you're digging into your past, then make sure that anybody digging into your past, if you're creating a story bank, I'm sure sad stories or trauma stories sells well. Just like 15, 20 years before Java was selling best, now storytelling is, selling best. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, what happens is that you are actually going into those areas which put your life down. So make sure that the boundaries of compound walls are so strong that you can showcase that by tending little away from it.
I
Okay.
love the point, Satish.
And maybe it's just another thing which comes to my mind. While because you're also a storyteller coach, I would really like to probably DM you or probably tell here also there are something like emotional hangover. There is
Sure.
something called shame rebound. There is something called identity entrapment. There is something called extreme validation, dependency, oversharing drift, compassion fatigue. See,
Wow.
these are things which is right away coming to my mind because I'm dealing with people right on the topic here.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Wow.
these are things. What happened is they started telling their stories, okay,
Mm.
and after a point in time, unfortunately, these situations started coming to them.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, one more point. Uh, you actually picked up very nicely, Sachin. Research your audience. Okay.
Yeah.
Recently, just a week back, one incident happened. It's a live incident. In a diabetes conference, somebody was actually giving example after example after example how people died because of diabetes. Okay,
Mm.
and that actually had an impact also, which was referred back, and then the storytelling, the entire thing kind of become a misnomer here. So
Mm.
from a psychologist's desk, my only point is storytelling is very powerful, just like Brenda ma'am said, but heal yourself first, and
Wonderful.
then
Wonderful.
start talking.
I would like to add a
Mm.
point here. First of all, Satish, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that. And I would love to get in touch with you and learn more about it. And maybe because I am on a way of becoming the best storytelling coach in the world. I know I'm going to be for sure. I would love to learn more about it. And I love the point when you shared that don't share something which you haven't healed from. There's an
Mm.
analogy which I always, when I coach people one to one in storytelling coaching, I always tell them, and again, what you shared exactly the same thing. I always tell them, don't share your wounds, share about your scar. Right? If you
Yeah.
share the
Yeah.
wounds, it's
Yeah.
vulnerable. It's
Yeah.
bad. But if you share the scar, scar means how have you healed from that wound.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So thank you, Satish, for sharing that. I will keep in mind and maybe rectify it often and learn from it more. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Wonderful. Let me ask you this last one question and then we will close because it's past 1:30.
Sure.
The strangest place where you have told a story. And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. Some years ago, I had started a video series where I told myself, you know what, I'll make one video every day and load it up on social media channels. And there was one night when it was 11:15 and I forgot in today's video what do I do, and everybody sleeping in the home. So I went to the bathroom, and locked the door and then recorded my video over there and uploaded it. Nobody comes to know because it was a tiled background and nobody knew it's recorded in a bathroom. So any strange place where you've ever told a story?
I don't know if it's strange, but okay.
Memorable, maybe memorable. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say memorable. So what happened? I was
Yeah.
flying to Dubai and I was in flight, and when the flight landed, okay, I let everybody go out and I stayed in the flight and I requested the flight and let me be here at least for 5 more minutes. I want to shoot some videos.
Oh.
And they were like, okay, sure. That they were very kind that they let me. It was Emirates, right? They're very kind. And then I shot almost 6 to 7 small stories, right? And I
Wonderful.
even shared on my social media as well. So I wouldn't say strangest, but I would say something which was pretty unique, where I shared my story and
Different.
made some videos. Yeah.
Different. Yeah. Wonderful. So it's 1:35 on a Sunday afternoon. It's time to say goodbye to everyone. Time to say thank you to Sachin. Thank you to everybody who joined in and asked questions and stayed till the end to make this 303rd Sunday Bloom Talk Show memorable. Looking forward to meeting you all next Sunday with another person, another mad person, another somebody who is wanting to make a difference, mad. So on the 304th Sunday Bloom Talk Show, I look forward to welcoming you all and seeing you all there, joining in and sharing your thoughts and questions too. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, Deepak, sir.
And
Thank
God
you,
bless
everyone.
us all.
Bye-bye.
I see Dorji is there. Hi, Dorji.
Hi. Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful. Bye. See you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sachin.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.